All right, we're gonna do some of these problems here. Let me share my screen. Okay. So the first problem for the pre-assessment is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus minus 6 is equal to 0. Usually when you find a problem like this, you always want to factor as much as possible. And so in this case, because we have 4 terms, we usually want to group. When we group, we factor out the GCF of both the first two, will be x squared and then x plus 2 minus 3. And then when we take out a minus, it's going to be also x plus 2. Okay, so remember, we're taking out the minus from the minus sign, and so that's why we get a plus sign there. So when you factor this, or we put this all together, it'll be x squared minus 3, and x plus 2 is equal to 0. So when you want to find the solutions after you factor, make sure, first of all, when you see a squared term, that it's not factorable. Okay, and we know that it's not factorable. So we make x squared minus 3 equals to 0. We add the 3 to both sides. And then x squared is equal to 3. We square root both sides, and so x is equal to plus or minus radical 3. And then with the other factor, the x plus 2 here, we make that equal to 0 as well. Subtract the 2, x is equal to negative 2. All right, so our 3 solutions are positive radical 3, negative radical 3, and negative 2. Okay. All right, next problem is the x to the 4th power plus 4x squared plus 3 is equal to 0. Since we have the highest power is 4, and the next highest power is half of whatever the highest power is, we can use the substitution method. The u is equal to x squared. So when we do that, I'm going to focus on the x squareds. And then I'm going to replace the x squareds with the u. So it'll be u squared plus 4u plus 3 equals 0. And the reason why we're doing that is so that we could use all the quadratic methods so we could solve this problem. So it'll be 3 and 4, right? The 3 goes up here, the 4 goes down here, so it'll be 3 and 1. So it will be u plus 3 and u plus 1. The thing is, though, we don't want to solve for u, we want to solve for x. So we have to replace the u back with the x squareds. So it becomes x squared plus 3 is equal to 0, and x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. And then we subtract, so this is not factorable, this is not factorable. These are both squares, but this is not a minus sign, and because it's not a minus sign with the square, you can't factor it. Okay, so we just subtract the 3 to both sides. Let me erase this. So we subtracted 3 on both sides here. X squared is equal to negative 3. Then we square root both sides. X is equal to the I, it brings the negative out, and then it's radical 3. It's going to be a plus or minus here. Same thing with this, you subtract the 1. So x squared is equal to negative 1, square root both sides here. And x is equal to the square root of negative 1 is I, so it'll be plus or minus I. Okay, so those are our 4 answers. I, positive I radical 3, negative I radical 3, positive I and negative I. All right. Number 3, we have radical x plus and then x minus 20 is equal to 10. We subtract radical x minus 20 to both sides. Remember, we want to isolate a variable, or sorry, not a variable, a radical. So it becomes radical x is equal to 10 minus radical x minus 20. And then we want to square both sides so that we could get the x by itself here. So when we do that, this is x is equal to, and then remember we have to FOIL 10 minus radical x minus 20, 10 minus radical x minus 20. When we FOIL this, x is equal to, first, it would be 100. Outside, it would be negative minus 10 radical x minus 20. Inside is another minus 10 x minus 20. Plus, minus and a minus is a plus. X minus 20 times x minus 20 is, we just get rid of the radical, so do this. Combine like terms. Right, it'll be x is equal to the 20 and the 100, so I can make that 80. These two make a negative 20, radical x minus 20, plus x. I subtract the x to both sides. This is 0, is equal to 80 minus 20 radical x minus 20. Subtract the 80. So negative 80 is equal to negative 20 radical x minus 20. Divide the negative 20 to both sides. So that's 4 is equal to radical x minus 20. Square both sides. So it'll be 16 is equal to x minus 20. Add the 20 to both sides. And x is equal to 36. And notice if you put the 36 inside of the original equation right here, it will equal 10, right? Radical 36 plus 36 minus 20 is equal to 10. This is 6. This is 16. This is 4. So 6 plus 4 is 10. Cool. Last problem will be the absolute value. It will be x plus 1 equals x squared minus 5. Remember to make one positive and one negative. So with this first one, we want to make it a quadratic because we have to the second power. So we put it in standard form. That's why standard form is super important to know. So you subtract the x, subtract the 1, it'll be minus 6. This we distribute. It'll be x plus 1 is equal to negative x squared plus 5. I add the x squared to the other side. I subtract the 5. So that'll be minus 4 is equal to 0. So if I add the x squared and I subtract the 5, I get this right here. I can factor this out right here because this is negative 6 and negative 1, so that'll be negative 3 and negative 2. The answer is negative x minus 3 and x minus 2. However, I make them equal to 0, so x minus 3 is equal to 0, x minus 2 is equal to 0, so x is equal to 3, x is equal to 2. However, for this problem, I can't factor that. So what you're gonna have to do is go on the quadratic formula calculator, put the a is 1, the b is 1, the c is negative 4. Okay. And then go into our quadratic formula calculator. So I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into calculator soup, so quadratic formula calculator here. There we go. Quadratic calculator here. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. Share screen. Right here. You see the quadratic formula calculator, right? That is, so you plug in the 1 for A, the 1 for B, and the -4 for C. You calculate that, and you get -1/2 plus or minus radical 17/2. Right? This is your answer here. Oops, I have to share my screen. I'll just go back. This is your answer here. Let me know if you need anything else. Good luck tomorrow.